Let's go!
Really quick, my Resident Evil 8 review. Man, so I love it, right? Let's not dust around the table a whole bunch. I love it. I think it's great, and I think the stuff that they do throughout it is incredibly good. However, the first what sort of makes it not like a game of the year contender is that it's got a really weird start. And just to clarify for anyone that's curious, I played it on hardcore all the way through, and the beginning of the game has a notorious, very weird, insane difficulty spike that's very confusing at the very start of the game that can kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth. The game sort of emulates or tries to emulate Resident Evil 4, and it does so in a way that it is cool, and I'd imagine plays out just fine on something like normal. But on hardcore, it's like, what do I do? Like, you're like here for an hour trying to figure out what the hell is going on during the Lycan raid, and it's very weird. Anyway, that put a kind of a sour taste in my mouth leading into the castle portion. But I really did like the castle portion, and I thought the game was starting to shine. Like, man, this is really fun, like looking around corners, not having to rapidly just like, whoa, enemies, oh god. Like, that part was a little daunting at the start, but once you get to it, once you get to the first big chunk of the game, it starts to warm up. It definitely does have a lot of Resident Evil 4 influence throughout it, but it genuinely comes across as something different, which is nice. I like the fact that it has some truly scary shit that happens within its environments, and I love the environments, dude. Like, I can't tell you how much I just loved going through creepy ass forests or dimly lit hallways and funky dungeons and all the different locales that you sort of investigate throughout this game. I liked it. I think in hardcore, some of the stuff at the beginning can feel a little bit daunting because enemies just don't react in the same way. But once you get past that point where you've actually upgraded your guns a little bit and you've made a bit of progress on the character progression, it's pretty cool. It starts to feel a lot better. In fact, the difficulty of the game, I feel is like perfect on hardcore mode. Once you get past that opening Lycan fight, and it's a lot better. I will say the enemies in the game are great. Like, there is a lot of enemy variety. I never felt like I was shooting the same thing over and over again, which was easily a big criticism of Resident Evil 7. But the enemy variety in this game is genuinely cool. I loved the Lycans. I liked shooting. Even the flying enemies have a nice response to them when you shoot them, which is cool. And I think a lot of the boss fights are also quite fantastic. Not to skip ahead too much, but Resident Evil games usually have their final acts can be kind of weak sometimes. And I think the final act in this game is incredible. Like, some of the twists and turns that it takes you and how you approach it is just like, what the hell is going on in this? So the funny thing is that the big criticisms that everyone had about Resident Evil 7, and even if you love RE7, which I do, I think the game was amazing, especially in VR. I wish this wasn't VR, oh my god. Was the fact that there wasn't any enemy variety. They fixed that. And the fact that Ethan was kind of a boring character. And they do a pretty good job at that. Funny enough, I don't know if this is exactly high praise because it's a territory that Resident Evil has not had great history with, and its storytelling. Kind of insanely basic games when it comes to their characters. Like, we use the joke that Resident Evil is a loveless, sexless universe because characters like never get married, they don't have relationships, there's no like, they are only partners and they partner with each other for the sake of we are good partners and we trust each other. Like, there is such a weird dichotomy that happens within the universe of Resident Evil, and this game actually has a great story. I really think that this game has a pretty great narrative. Once it gets it going. Is it stupid and cheesy? It really is. Like, it genuinely comes across as a theme park ride, which is why I constantly saying like, Disneyland, oh my god, I'm at Universal Studios right now. It really has that feeling about it that you're going through like a Universal Studios ride. But the good thing is that by the time the credits roll, the game makes you give a shit. And that's great. Like, I genuinely cared about a lot of its characters by the time the credits rolled. And I'm incredibly captivated with where the hell things are going to be going from this point forward, because they set up some awesome shit in the end. A rough start, right? I kind of describe Resident Evil Village like RE7 is like you just boom on the roller coaster. RE7 is one of those rides where it starts right? And it's magnetically charged and you go zip and you go flying. You're like, fuck, whoa, this is nuts, whoa. And then by the end, the ride's kind of burning out on that energy and you're like, oh, yeah. And it comes to a stop. You're like, okay, that was great. That was great. This game is like a traditional roller coaster where you're going up at the start and you're like, okay, well, yeah, that's not really a ride yet. It's a thing. And then it gets to the top and then it's like, whoa, this is getting a lot better. And then it drops and it doesn't stop, right? And all the way until the very end, it doesn't stop. And it's very different sort of approaches to how they front load RE7 with amazing shit, but the end of it's only okay. This one, the latter 75% of the game is just gets better and better and better and better and better, in my opinion. It's just, holy shit, dude, this is so cool. I'm a big fan of what they did here, and I love the locales, and I love all the crazy variety that you eventually see throughout it. But I just think that first-person RE isn't necessary. Some moments in this game really set up for creepy stuff, especially in some of the sequences that don't really involve a lot of combat. Really creepy shit. But honestly, I think Resident Evil just fits better in classic, like, fixed camera, but that's just old and tried, and they're not doing that again, or third person. I think RE2 Remake and feeling like RE2 Remake really was able to pull off a lot of the super creepy stuff and atmospheric environments from a third person perspective, and it didn't really lose that element. We didn't really need the faceless protagonist, you know, the dude behind the first person camera. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe later on, if there is a Resident Evil 9, which there eventually will be, that they take a different approach to it. So I don't know. Let's talk about issues with the game. I think there's a lot of technical issues I have with it because I did play the PC version. PC version, for some reason, when you kill a lot of enemies, the game stops for a frame or two. It's really funky. The PC version of this game I actually would not recommend unless the field of view is a problem. If you have issues with the field of view of this game, and I definitely did, having to deal with that opening lichen section, and that's because the field of view of the game is so zoomed in on what's going on in this action. I just brought it out a little bit on the PC version through a mod, and it was so much better, like so much easier on my eyes. And it can make looking around for things which you're going to be doing a lot of and fighting some fights just feel way too claustrophobic. Like, I think that's genuinely an aspect that is the fear, right? And the fear in Resident Evil games is when janky mechanics like bad controls or funky cameras or, you know, just old jank contributes to the fear, right? That's the fear kicking in. It's scary because you can't do a 180 turn. It's scary because you have crappy controls. It's scary because, right? That's the fear. And I feel that the POV in this game, that's the fear. It's 100%, that's the fear. But even when playing with the camera pulled out a little bit and the FOV being a bit wider, some of the scariest shit in the world happened on the second day, dude. Like, some of the genuinely scariest shit that I've ever seen in a video game took place in this game. So I don't think that contributes to the fear in any way at all. But the other elements are great. The Duke is a great character. The Merchant coming back is fantastic. The fact that the game opens up to a bigger world that you can go and explore and look for things and come back and combine elements and do stuff to just solve this and go back. It's awesome. Like, it's awesome solving the village and just being perceptive of what's happening in your environment. It's something that has not been in Resident Evil since Resident Evil 4, and the fact that they brought it back for this game is such a welcome addition. It's so nice being able to look for treasure and find treasure and combine it with other stuff and, you know, kill enemies, and they're dropping money and you get a reason to go back and do stuff. One thing that I love about the treasure system in a Resident Evil game, especially really RE4 in this, is the fact that it gives you reason to look at the environment. I find myself noticing that, oh, the room is still red on the map, meaning I have not found anything, and I'm just looking around and appreciating all this crazy looking environment. Just, I'm like, there's something in here. I'm gonna go check this room out. And that was a big amount of my playtime, was going back and looking for things that I felt that I had missed. I think my total playtime on hardcore clocked in game like 11 to 12 hours. But I believe my actual game time, because that's not counting deaths, I think. We get quite a few deaths on hardcore. Probably is getting close to 20 hours. For a lot of people that like want to enjoy this game, I don't think I would recommend playing on normal. I think playing on hardcore is probably worth it because it gives you a bit of a chance to enjoy some of these fights a bit more. Because I just took some time going through mercenaries in the end, which you unlock, and fighting enemies on what is presumably the normal difficulty, and they die so easy, man. The game feels very generous on normal, and it feels like hardcore. Beyond the opening Lycan fight, which is confusing and weird, is probably the way I'd recommend playing it. It feels perfect once you get past that part, and it's like a genuinely like, and this is a good difficulty. Things are taking like enough hits. The game is giving me enough to work with. Overall, I really liked it. Like, loved it. I think if this is a direction for Resident Evil and having the perspective of where they should go from here, it's really exciting where they're going to take the characters and story from this point forward. And I think for storytelling, they've done something in a Resident Evil game I was never prepared for them to do, which is actually make the storytelling and the characters great in the end. I think I'm ready for it to go away from first-person perspective. And I'm hoping that they include more elements like this. It just gets me really excited for RE4 Remake, if it is in development, which it most likely is, and seeing what they take from this game into an RE4 Remake situation, because obviously they share a lot of similarities, you know? Good on you, Capcom. The Capcom Redemption began in 2017 when Resident Evil 7 was actually super good, and then continued forward with other incredible games like Monster Hunter World, Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and it definitely faltered at points. I think this is a big compliment to what I consider to be Capcom's renaissance right now. They're doing better than they ever have in the company's history, and it's showing because they're putting out amazing shit like this. And even though the beginning is a little rough and hardcore, and it was having me very worried, I eventually breached the plateau that is that first climb up the hill of a roller coaster, and man, that shit didn't stop for what felt like 12 to 15 hours of gameplay after that. It was awesome. I'm super happy with it. It's not my game of the year. I think my game of the year is still going to go to Returnal, because that game truly blew my mind in almost every way. It's very hard for me to find things that I don't like about it, other than it's like saving. I think overall, I'd probably give this one a personal, like on a personal level, like a 9.5. But critically, I'd be giving this a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. But man, I think it's actually better than RE7, and probably is one of the best horror games out there in general. It's super good. Super good. Damn, dude, I want to play it again. Holy shit, man.